When you set out to buy a home, you want to make sure you understand all the costs you'll be paying along the way. And while most everyone knows about the down payment, a lot of buyers, whether it's your first time buying or you're just new to buying in North Carolina, don't always know about what other money they'll need to bring to the closing table. So let me break it down for you. My name is Matt Martin, and I'm a realtor in the Raleigh area of North Carolina. I've helped tons of clients relocate to the Triangle region, and if you're looking to do the same, I'd love to help you too. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below. So let me start off by saying that this video will be focusing solely on resale homes. That means anything that isn't new construction. I'll make a whole other video on new construction at some point, so be on the lookout for that. High level, if you're financing your purchase, which means getting a mortgage, you can expect to pay about 2% of your purchase price in closing costs in addition to your down payment. But that amount can vary dramatically depending on which lender you use, how much money you're putting down, and even the time of year or month that you close. If you're paying for your home in cash, you'll avoid all the lender fees, so your closing costs will be significantly lower. So let's jump into the nitty-gritty, starting with the fees that everyone will pay, whether you're financing or paying cash. And the first one is the attorney fee. North Carolina is an attorney state, which means you'll need to hire a lawyer to handle your closing. They'll also run a title search on the property to ensure no one else has claim to it. They'll get your title insurance set up for you, which we'll talk about in a minute. They'll prepare the deed, order your survey if you request one, and get everything recorded for you after closing. For all this, they'll usually charge around $1,000. Next up are your title insurance fees. As I mentioned, your attorney will run a title search to ensure that no one else has claim to your property or there aren't any other encumbrances on the property. In other words, that no one will be coming after you for the property or for money after you close. But let's say something wasn't filed properly over the years and therefore didn't come up in the title search, and someone does come out of the woodwork after you've closed and claims they have a right to the house. Well, title insurance covers you in these instances. In North Carolina, title insurance is calculated uniformly across all providers, and while it is a sliding scale based on the purchase price of the home, it's about $1.50 to $2 for every $1,000 of purchase price. So if you're buying a $500,000 home, you'd be looking at title insurance of about $1,000. Next up, we have a few prepayments. First, you'll need to prepay your homeowner's insurance for the first year. The price can range quite a bit depending on the age of the home, size, safety features, materials used, etc., but expect to pay in the $1,500 plus range. Another thing you'll need to prepay are your property taxes. Here in North Carolina, the fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th, and property taxes are due by September 1st to cover that year into the next. So let's say you're purchasing a home on December 1st of 2024. That means the seller will have already paid taxes for the full fiscal year, covering July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. But they'll only end up living there for 5 months of that. So at closing, you'll essentially pay the seller back for the 7 months that they prepaid, but will no longer be living there. So what's that mean in dollars? Well, property taxes average about 1% of property value. So if you're buying a $500,000 house, the full year's bill would be about $5,000, of which you'd owe 7 months, or about $3,000. Now, let's change it up a little and say you're closing on August 1st, 2024. Since the fiscal year began July 1st, the seller will owe 1 month of property taxes at closing, and you'll prepay the remaining 11 months, or $4,583 to be precise. So depending on when you close, your property tax prepayment can vary significantly. And finally, on the prepayment front, if you're moving into a community with a homeowners association, you may need to prepay HOA dues, which can vary based on the amenities of the community and the frequency with which dues are paid, be it monthly, quarterly, annually. All right, next, there are a couple optional but highly recommended services that you may opt in for: inspections and a survey. Home inspections are completely up to the buyer, but I absolutely recommend them to everyone. Home inspections vary in price based on the size of the home and its age, but you can usually expect around $500 to $750 for just the home. Then additional fees for things like septic or well inspections, termite, radon, and pool inspections. Then there's a survey, which generally costs around $600. Surveys are recommended on almost all properties to give you insight into where your property lines lie and to ensure that nothing is crossing them that shouldn't, like a neighbor's fence or a shed that the seller built without a permit. It's good to know this up front so you don't run into any surprises once you move in, like the neighbor suddenly coming after you to take down that shed that you had nothing to do with, but is technically crossing into their yard. All right, finally, all buyers will pay some admin and recording fees, but these usually total less than $200. And if you're a cash buyer, that's it. But if you're purchasing with a loan, there are a few more fees that your lender will charge. Let's start with the loan origination or application fee. This is the most difficult piece of the closing cost puzzle to put a value on, as it varies dramatically from lender to lender. But almost all banks, and heads up, I'll use the terms bank, lender, and mortgage broker interchangeably here. So almost all banks will charge some sort of fee to establish your loan or to process your loan application. For example, if you're getting a $400,000 mortgage and opt to use a lender with a 1% origination fee, that's $4,000. However, if you go with a mortgage broker that just charges a flat fee, like our own Howard Hanna Mortgage, which charges a one-time fee of $1,295 as of October of 23, you're looking at significantly less. Okay, on to the next lender charge, the appraisal fee, which will cost you around $500 to $750. If you're unsure of what an appraisal is, you can check out my home buying process video here, where I go into detail about the entire appraisal process, but high level, it's an analysis done at the bank's request to give them comfort that the home is worth what they're lending you. Next up, you'll need to pay mortgage interest for the remainder of the month in which you're closing. So if you're closing mid-month and have a $400,000 loan at 7.75%, that would mean a prepayment of about $1,300 at closing. But if you close on the last day of the month, you won't owe anything. All right, let's talk quickly about escrow accounts next. As I mentioned before, homeowners insurance and property taxes are prepaid once a year in a lump sum. If you'd like to avoid that all at once hit and instead spread the burden across the entire year, your lender may be able to set up an escrow account to handle these fees for you. Each month, you'll pay into the escrow account along with your regular mortgage payment, and the lender will use those escrow funds to pay your insurance and property taxes when they become due. The lender needs to make sure they have a cushion in the escrow account, so they'll ask for a few months of each upfront at closing to get that escrow account going. All right, this next fee is for what's known as points, which is an optional fee to buy down your mortgage rate. 1 point costs 1% of your loan value, and it usually brings your rate down about 0.25%. So if you're getting a $400,000 loan at 7.75%, you may be able to pay 1 point or $4,000 to bring your rate down to something around 7.5%. But you'll definitely want to speak with your lender about what options are available and then work with your broker, especially one with a 12-year finance background like me, to calculate if paying for these points makes sense for you. The bank will also charge some de minimis fees for things like running your credit and getting certain certifications, but these are usually a couple $100 or less. So those are the closing costs associated with buying a resale home in North Carolina. As I said at the start of this video, the average person will pay about 2% of their purchase price in closing costs, but I'm sure you can see now that that can vary wildly depending on a whole slew of factors. If you found this video helpful, leave me a comment down below. Or if you have any questions about what your specific closing costs might look like, or you're ready to kick off your search in the triangle, I'd love to hear from you. I'm always available by phone, email, or text. All my contact information is included here.